Let's talk about some other economic news around this week, and that is the wage price index. Wages seem to have slowed, coming in at 3.6% yesterday. Is that good news?
Well, real wages are actually going backwards. We've had negative real wages now on an annual basis in all of the last 4 quarters. That's a real concern. You'll recall that when Labor were campaigning prior to the last election, Tony Burke actually said the words, "You will feel a change in government in your wallet." They said that real wages will go up under Labor, and in fact, they've done the exact opposite. And that's because inflation remains stubbornly high. Unless the government is going to tackle inflation, doesn't matter even if your wages go up 3.6%, you'll actually feel like you're going backwards because your purchasing power is being eroded by that stubborn, sticky inflation. That's why we want to see a plan from the Albanese government to tackle inflation, not just say, oh, our budget won't make it worse, but actually tackle it head on.
So it is good news though, isn't it, that there's not a wage price spiral? Does yesterday's figures show that?
Oh,
and the Reserve Bank is going to
actually,
like that
it's very important that there isn't.
Yeah.
It's very important that there isn't. This was the big warning sign that Philip Lowe put out there. He said 2 things. He said if there was a wage price spiral, if we kept getting wage rises without productivity, so that was his second point, that we needed to address productivity, well then inflation was going to be harder to bring back down into that 2 to 3% band. Of course, that's what we've seen. Even at 6%, inflation is double that 2 to 3%, more than double that 2 to 3% target band. So we need to make sure that wages aren't spiralling out of control. The problem is, of course, when inflation's high, real wages are going backwards. That's why you feel poorer than you did a year ago.
So on balance, though, is the figures we got yesterday pretty good news?
Well, hopefully they're good news for the RBA's deliberations. Of course, there are other drivers of inflation as well that they will have to consider in making their interest rate decisions. However, it's not good news if you are average Joe worker out there that's feeling their real wages go backwards, because every month when you get your pay packet, you can afford less and less at the grocery store. You can afford less, petrol in your car. It makes it much harder to make those mortgage repayments. And of course, it's impossible to pay those ever-increasing energy bills. And that's because your purchasing power is going down while your real wages go backwards. So yes, it's good news that there is not an official wage price spiral, but more has to be done if we're going to improve standard of living and not watch our standard of living erode over time. Surely, that's the first responsibility of an economically responsible government, is to improve the standard of living of the population.